Chapter 6. Gretchen gasped for air. She squirmed and struggled to break free. No, please, please, she silently begged. To her surprise, the hands released her. Gretchen stumbled, then whirled around to face her attacker. You? She guessed. Surprise, he cried. Aren't you happy to see me? Marco. Gretchen's pounding heart slowed. She felt her body sag with relief. Hey, Gretch, Marco laughed. Did I scare you? Yes, Gretchen shouted. She pounded his chest with both fists. She felt her fear drain away, replaced by simmering anger. She had been looking forward to a night away from Marco. Now here he was, standing in front of her. She pulled a box of matches out of her pocket and lit one of the candles. Hey, it was just a joke, Marco said. You nearly scared me to death, Gretchen snapped. For your information, there's an escaped killer on the loose. He murdered 3 girls, I thought. Marco ran a hand through his long hair. How was I supposed to know that? The police are keeping it quiet, Gretchen told him. Then how did you find out? Patrick found out from his father, who told him not to spread it around. You can't be angry at me for something I didn't know, he argued. He tried to pull Gretchen back into his arms, but she wriggled free. Marco stared at her with a hurt expression. Then he folded his arms across his chest and sighed. She couldn't help but notice the way his white t-shirt hugged his muscles or the way his blue jeans were molded to his legs. Marco had a great body. Most girls at Shadyside High would love to trade places with her, she knew, but she really didn't want to go out with him anymore. She couldn't help it. It was just the way she felt. Gretchen stepped away from him and shrugged off her jacket. She hung it on an oak coat rack near the front door. How did you even know I'd be out here? She asked. Your mom told me when I called your house tonight, Marco replied. He leaned against the banister leading upstairs and gave Gretchen a sly smile. I hid my boat on the other side of the island so I could surprise you, Marco boasted. You can't get away from me so easily, Gretchen. Don't you know that? Gretchen frowned. Does he know that I want to break up with him? Has he figured it out? Probably not. Marco was so vain. She heard sounds at the door and saw the beam of Gil's flashlight against the front windows. A few seconds later, her friends piled through the doorway into the cabin. Hannah caught sight of Marco, then threw Gretchen a puzzled look. Later, Gretchen mouthed. Marco's here? Cindy squealed. You didn't think I'd miss your birthday, did you? Marco grinned. He threw open his arms, and Cindy raced into them, giving him a hug. I bet I look like a mess, Cindy muttered, pushing back her hair. Some mess, Gretchen thought. Cindy looked perfect, as always. We wanted to light all the candles first, Hannah apologized. This place looks great, Cindy raved. It does, doesn't it? Gretchen agreed. She and Hannah had spent 3 hours decorating. Streamers were strung from one end of the living room to the other. Silver foil stars hung on the walls, along with gold and pink balloons. A happy birthday banner was positioned over the fireplace. Gretchen had scattered candles, all different colors and sizes, throughout the room. She quickly began lighting them. She stepped past their sleeping bags, piled in one corner of the room. Gretchen didn't think they'd be doing much sleeping tonight. They'd be too busy partying. Gretchen lit the last candle and blew out the match. There, now everything is perfect. Happy birthday, Cindy, Hannah cried. Everyone gathered around Cindy. Happy birthday! Cindy gazed around the decorated room. No one has ever done anything this nice for me before. I can't believe you all went to so much trouble to surprise me. Why not? Gretchen asked. You're our friend? This is the best birthday I've ever had, Cindy gushed. I'll remember it as long as I live. Later, after the horror began, Gretchen remembered Cindy's words. I'll remember it as long as I live. Chapter 7. Let's not forget the presents, Gil cried. Or the food, Patrick chimed in. I hope we brought enough. I'm starved. As usual, Hannah murmured. If we run out of food, we'll have to go hunting, Marco said. Hunting? What's to hunt? There are no animals on Fear Island, Gretchen told him. Sure there are, Gil responded. Right, Patrick? Patrick nodded, his brown curls bouncing. There are plenty of wild animals out there, lurking in the shadows. He lowered his voice to a sinister tone, waiting to pounce and kill when you least expect it. There are not, Cindy declared. She glanced around the room nervously, then asked in a tiny voice, Are there? Gretchen playfully swatted Patrick's arm. Stop trying to scare us. Patrick threw up his arms. Okay, but that animal growling sound you just heard is my stomach. Yeah, let's eat, Gil exclaimed, starting for the kitchen. But first, everyone take your boots off. House rules. My grandmother will freak out if we get mud on the rugs. Gretchen could see Jackson watching them all, not saying anything, a serious, almost angry expression on his face. Why is he watching us like that? Gretchen wondered. She dumped her boots by the front door with the others. Is Jackson studying us? Why isn't he joining in like everyone else? If he doesn't want to be here, why did he bother to come at all? Aren't you coming into the kitchen, Jackson? She asked. I'm going to start a fire, he replied curtly. You know, for roasting the hot dogs. In the kitchen, Gretchen helped Hannah empty the refrigerator, while Gil, Patrick, Marco, and Cindy brought paper cups, plates, and napkins out into the living room. Gretchen saw the canisters of flour and sugar they had used to bake Cindy's birthday cake. They still cluttered the kitchen counter. Dirty bowls and pans filled the sink. Wow, look at all that. We really made a mess baking today, Gretchen observed. Don't worry about it, Hannah said. Everyone will pitch in to clean up later. Gretchen moved the canister of flour to one side so she could reach a bag of hot dog rolls. I guess. So what's the deal with Marco? Hannah asked, handing Gretchen a package of hot dogs. I thought you didn't want him here tonight. He called my house and my mom told him where I was? Hannah made a face. Oh, wow. It's not Mom's fault, Gretchen said. She doesn't know I want to break up with him. Hannah crammed her arms with bottles of ketchup, mustard, and pickles. What are you going to do? Gretchen shrugged. Try to keep my distance? Good luck. This cabin isn't very big in case you didn't notice, Hannah reminded her. Yeah, I noticed, Gretchen sighed. She followed Hannah into the living room. I'll have to make the best of it. It's only one night. How bad can it be? As Gretchen walked into the living room, she saw the fire blazing in the hearth. Gil handed out skewers for roasting the hot dogs. Gretchen cooked her hot dog in the fire, then she looked around for a place to eat. She spotted Marco sitting on the floor next to Cindy, so Gretchen took a seat on a couch, but he instantly got up and sat down next to her. Gretchen felt trapped. She had a feeling that if she got up and sat on the floor, or even escaped to the kitchen, Marco would follow her. He tried to put his arm around her shoulders, but she jumped up to get another soda. I used to love when Marco put his arms around me, Gretchen remembered. I used to love when he hugged me, when he kissed me. Now I don't want him to touch me ever again. I only want him out of my life. Anyone want another hot dog? Cindy asked. She held out a hot dog that she had just finished roasting. I'll take another one, Gil called out. He held out his plate. Looks good. What a chef. Thanks, Cindy replied with a sweet smile. And the hot dog looks pretty good, too, Gil added, laughing. Cindy giggled. Gretchen felt as if she were going to gag on her food. She sneaked a glance at Hannah. Hannah sat staring at Gil, her mouth set in a tight line. You want some mustard and sauerkraut? Cindy asked Gil. Gil doesn't like mustard on his hot dog, Hannah cut in. He likes ketchup. No, he doesn't, Cindy insisted. He likes mustard, don't you, Gil? Gil didn't answer either Cindy or Hannah. He grabbed the hot dog and took a bite. It's fine, just the way it is, he replied. Hannah leaned over and reached into a cooler for a can of Coke. She popped the can open and handed it to Gil. Have a soda. Cindy shook her head. Gil doesn't like Coke. He likes ginger ale. He does not? I should know, Hannah, Cindy replied smugly. Gil and I went out for 6 months, and you've only been going with him for 1. Gretchen could see that Cindy's remark was like a slap in the face to Hannah. Hannah left Gil's side and stormed into the kitchen. Gretchen hurried after her. She found Hannah by the sink. She could see Hannah was upset. Her whole body was trembling. Don't let Cindy get to you, Gretchen advised. She's just jealous because Gil's going out with you now? I've known Cindy all my life and sometimes I hate her so much, Hannah said through gritted teeth. She thinks because she's pretty and blonde, she can get everything she wants. It's not fair, Gretchen. It's just not fair. You're not upset because Cindy is flirting with Gil, are you? There's something else? Yes, Hannah reluctantly admitted. Want to tell me? Cindy won the college scholarship I applied for, Hannah whispered. Gretchen's heart ached for Hannah. She knew how much Hannah had been relying on that scholarship. For a week she'd been on pins and needles waiting to hear if she'd won it. I'm sorry, Gretchen said softly. Hannah turned away from the sink, facing Gretchen. Her father has loads of money. He can afford to send her to any college she wants to go to. My parents can't. That scholarship was my only chance. But didn't you apply for other scholarships? That's not the point, Hannah snapped. Cindy wasn't even interested in that scholarship until she heard I was applying for it. It's been that way ever since we were kids. Hannah uttered an angry sigh. Cindy thinks she can get whatever she wants no matter who she hurts. Well, she can't. Sometimes I wish she was dead. Gretchen gasped. She had never seen Hannah so angry. Hannah was always so warm and sensitive. She never said mean things about people, even when they deserved it. But staring at Hannah now, Gretchen felt a chill. Her friend's face was a mask of bitter anger. You don't mean that? Gretchen whispered. Hannah sighed. Don't I? Don't I? Chapter 8. Hey, did you guys get lost in the kitchen or something? Patrick cried as Gretchen and Hannah returned to the front room. We thought we were going to have to send out a search team. So, what's next? Marco asked. It's time to open my presents, Cindy gleefully announced. There they are. Patrick pointed to a pile of gifts near the fireplace. Go for it. Cindy hurried over to the presents. Gretchen took a seat on a couch to get a good view. Gretchen watched her pick a small box wrapped in pink foil from the top of the pile and shake it. Then Cindy tore off the gift card and read it aloud. From Gretchen, she announced. Let's see, what could this be? She ripped off the paper and opened the box. Great earrings. Thanks, Gretchen, she called out. Before Gretchen could reply, Cindy tossed the box aside and was eagerly opening her next gift, a bottle of perfume from Hannah. I love this perfume. Too bad it makes me break out, she said. She grabbed up the next present from Gil and Jackson, an envelope containing 2 tickets to a rock concert. Everybody knew Gretchen was dying to see that show, but Cindy didn't look too excited about it. Hey, thanks guys. Cool gift, Cindy said. She dropped the tickets on top of her present pile. Cindy is so self-centered and spoiled, Gretchen thought, as she watched Cindy tear open her gifts. Everyone put a lot of time and thought into her presents, and she doesn't even appreciate it. Hey, Cindy, I'm real sorry, Patrick suddenly said. I forgot to wrap your gift. I'll have to give it to you later, okay? Sure, Cindy shrugged. She reached for the last box, a large white one. Gretchen watched Cindy shake the large box. She noticed that there wasn't any paper on the outside, just a red stick-on bow on top. Gretchen read the words scrawled on the top of the box in black marker. To Cindy, from Marco. The last present is yours, Cindy told Marco as she shook the box. I wonder what it is. Open it and see, he encouraged. Cindy ripped off the red bow and lifted the lid of the box. She peeked inside, and her mouth dropped open in disgust. Oh, gross, she moaned. Chapter 9. Yuck! Cindy made a disgusted face. Hey, you're welcome, Marco laughed. If you don't like them, I'll take them back. Cindy turned to Gretchen and Hannah. He gave me a bunch of slasher movies, she announced. She picked a videotape out of the box and read the title. Bloodfest 4. Gretchen stared at the video. The cover had a picture of a half-dressed girl shrinking away from a large dagger, dripping blood. Cindy groaned and made a face. Ah, how can any normal person watch that stuff? Gretchen just shrugged. She couldn't believe how rude Cindy was being. Why couldn't she pretend to like Marco's gift instead of hurting his feelings? If you don't want the videos, can I have them? Patrick asked. I'll add them to my collection. Cindy waved a hand. They're yours. I don't believe her, Marco muttered, shaking his head. Gretchen glanced around the room at her friends. Everyone looked sort of down, and this was supposed to be a great night, their awesome all-night party. How about some music? Gretchen suggested. It's way too quiet in here. Good idea. Let's crank it up. There's no one around to complain, Gil said. Gretchen inserted a CD into the portable CD player and turned the volume as high as it would go. A heavy rock and roll beat filled the room. She felt the wooden floorboards vibrating under her feet. Excellent, Hannah cried over the noise. She grabbed Gil by the hand and pulled him up to dance. Come on, Gretchen, Marco urged. I don't feel like it. Maybe later, Gretchen stammered. I feel sort of tired, she added. Tired, Marco cried. You can't be tired. This is an all-night party. Before Gretchen could refuse again, Marco took her by the arm and started dancing. Gretchen gave up and started to dance too. As they danced, Gretchen could see Cindy's eyes locked on Gil and Hannah. Gil was whispering in her ear and Hannah had a smile on her face. Gretchen wondered if Cindy was sorry she had broken up with Gil. She knew that Cindy had been the one to drop him. It happened because Gil got into serious trouble. Some guys he used to hang out with decided to steal a car. Cindy's parents went ballistic when they found out. A few days later, Cindy broke up with Gil. After that, Gil and Hannah started hanging out. Gretchen couldn't understand Hannah's attraction to Gil. Sure, he was cute enough with his high cheekbones, blue eyes, and jet black hair, but he wasn't such a prize. Who wanted a boyfriend who was constantly coming on to his ex-girlfriend? Gretchen's eyes darted away from Gil and Hannah. Patrick was stuffing his face with another hot dog. Jackson leaned against the wall next to the fireplace. His arms were crossed over his chest. His dark eyes were riveted on her, watching, following her every move. Chapter 10. Gretchen pulled away from Marco. "I'm going outside to get some more wood for the fire," she said. "Want some help?" he offered. Gretchen knew if Marco tagged along, they wouldn't be gathering wood. He wanted two of them to find a private spot and make out. The thought made her stomach knot. "No thanks," Gretchen replied. What she really wanted was to get away from Marco and Jackson for a while. She was really beginning to feel trapped inside the little cabin. Grabbing a flashlight off the fireplace mantel, Gretchen hurried for the door. She could feel Jackson's gaze following her, but she didn't turn around. "We'll walk out with you," Hannah called. "Gil and I are going down to the boat dock to look at the stars." Gretchen rolled her eyes. Who did Hannah think she was fooling? There weren't any stars out. It was so obvious. She and Gil were going to make out. "I'm not budging an inch," Patrick sighed from the couch. "I ate too many hot dogs." He burped loudly. "Better make room for dessert," Hannah said. "We're going to cut Cindy's birthday cake when we get back." "Do you know what you're going to wish for?" Gretchen asked Cindy. Cindy stared at Gil with determination. "I know exactly what I'm going to wish for." "Be careful what you wish for," Gil replied. "You just might get it." Cindy smiled coyly. "I'll take that chance." Hannah tugged impatiently on Gil's arm. "Come on, Gil, let's go." After lacing up her hiking boots, Gretchen snagged her denim jacket from the coat rack. She slipped into it and stepped onto the porch. Gretchen took a deep breath. She felt surrounded by the night's deep, velvety silence. So peaceful, so quiet, so different from inside the cabin. She suddenly wished she didn't have to go back. Back to Marco. Back to Jackson. Gretchen stared up at the sky. It had stopped raining, but thick clouds still hovered above. Another storm was approaching. "I better get the firewood before it starts raining again," she thought. Clicking on her flashlight, Gretchen hurried down the porch steps and made her way alongside the cabin to a nearby shed. She found a few pieces of wood inside and picked them up. As she approached the back of the cabin, she heard loud voices from in the kitchen. Gretchen felt embarrassed eavesdropping, but she couldn't resist. She moved closer to the cabin wall and stood just below the kitchen window. She couldn't see inside. The window was too high, but she heard the voices clearly. Two voices, male and female, raised and angry. She recognized Cindy's voice, but who was the boy? She listened more closely. Jackson. But what could they be arguing about? Cindy and Jackson were only casual friends, weren't they? Gretchen listened hard. She couldn't make out any words, but the argument sounded angry. Then she heard a sharp sound that made her gasp in surprise. A slap. Chapter 11. Was it a slap? Yes. Cindy cried out. Alarmed, Gretchen lurched away from the window. What should she do? Go back inside and check it out? No, it wasn't any of her business. Besides, Patrick and Marco were still inside. If things got out of control between Cindy and Jackson, one of them would break it up. Gretchen hurried away from the cabin. With the beam from her flashlight leading the way, she moved deeper into the forest, needing a little more time away from everyone. As she walked on, the light flickered and grew dim. She could barely see the trees in front of her. Oh no, Gretchen thought, the flashlight is dying. She shook the flashlight until the batteries rattled. The beam of light grew strong again, and Gretchen sighed with relief. I guess I'd better head back for the cabin. I don't want to get caught out here in the dark with no way of finding my way back. But before Gretchen could turn around, the light went out. Great, Gretchen muttered. She flicked the switch back and forth. She jiggled the batteries. Nothing happened. Gretchen sighed. She tried not to panic. Ever since she was a little girl, she had been afraid of the dark, afraid of something lurking in the shadows, waiting, watching. Stop it, she scolded herself. Stop scaring yourself. Still, Gretchen didn't like being by herself, especially with an escaped prisoner on the loose. She turned and started walking back in the darkness. As she walked, Gretchen listened to the sounds of the forest, the hooting of an owl, the chirping of crickets. Then, far up ahead, through the trembling branches, Gretchen could see the lights from the cabin. Okay, it's not so far. I can make it. Then she heard something else. A scraping sound. Up ahead of her. Gretchen stopped. Who's there? She called out. No answer. Is anyone there? She called again. Still no answer. Marco, if that's you, I don't think it's funny, Gretchen called into the darkness. No answer. The scraping grew louder. Gretchen felt her body trembling with fear. She held her breath and listened. Something was out there, coming closer. The sound vanished. Gretchen's body sagged in relief. She took a gulp of air. No one's there. I'm freaking out over nothing. It was only an animal, that's all. She searched for the cabin lights again, but she couldn't see them through the thick brush. It's out there somewhere, she reassured herself. I know it. She took a few steps forward, but stopped when another sound ripped through the silence of the night. The sound of breathing. Human breathing. Who's there? Gretchen cried out. No answer. But the breathing grew heavier. Gretchen's mouth turned dry. She stopped and leaned against a tree trunk. She could feel her heart pounding against her ribs. If it was Hannah or Gil or anyone else from the cabin, they'd answer. Unless it wasn't someone from the cabin. And if it wasn't one of her friends. Gretchen's stomach tightened as she realized who it might be. The escaped prisoner. I've got to run, she decided. But before she could move, a figure leapt out of the woods and grabbed her. Chapter 12. Gretchen opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Marco laughed. Got you again, he exclaimed, holding her tightly. You idiot, Gretchen shrieked. She furiously pounded her fists on his chest. You're sick? You're really sick? Whoa, calm down, Marcus protested. It was only a joke. Joke? I told you about the escaped prisoner. What were you thinking? Gretchen, lighten up. Let me go, Gretchen cried, struggling to break away from him. Let me go? Marco dropped his arms and backed away. What's your problem? All night long you've been avoiding me. You act as if you don't even want me here. I don't, Gretchen blurted out. Huh? You weren't supposed to be here? I purposely didn't invite you, she admitted. Marco's face grew tight as he stared at Gretchen. She'd seen that expression before, right before he lost his temper. Gretchen braced herself and watched his reaction. What did I do? Marco asked. Nothing, Gretchen replied, shaking her head. It's just that... She stopped. She didn't know how to explain, but she had to tell him. Listen, I didn't invite you because I didn't want to see you. I guess I don't want to see you anymore. Huh? Marco took a step toward Gretchen. She backed away from him. What's the matter, Gretchen? Marco asked. He sneered at her. Scared of me? No, I'm not, she replied, taking another step back. His hand reached into the back pocket of his jeans. He pulled out a slim, shiny metal object. Her eyes widened with shock and her breath caught in her throat. A switchblade glistened in the palm of his hand. Marco pressed a button and the blade snapped out. What are you doing with that thing? Gretchen cried. Put it away. I need it, Marco answered quietly. I need it. Gretchen inched away from Marco. She tried not to stare at the knife in his hand, but she couldn't tear her eyes away. I didn't mean to hurt you, Marco, Gretchen whispered. Honest, maybe I'm not so good at explaining these things, but we're not right for each other, can't you see? Marco didn't answer. He moved closer to Gretchen. I've used this knife before, and I'm going to use it again, he whispered. Tonight. Tonight? Marco? No, Gretchen shrieked. Marco swung his hand up high and plunged the knife into Gretchen's chest. Chapter 13. With a groan, Gretchen shut her eyes and waited for the stab of pain. Her hands shot up to her chest. She felt nothing at all. A sharp slicing sound made her open her eyes. Oh, she cried out, realizing that Marco hadn't stabbed her. He had stabbed a switchblade into the bark of a tree behind her. Gretchen spun around and watched the knife tear through the soft wood. Once, twice, 3 times. She froze, unable to move a muscle as Marco savagely hacked away at the tree. Bits of damp bark hit her face. Marco was grunting and gasping for breath as he slashed at the tree. What are you doing? Gretchen stammered. I'm angry, Marco shot back through gritted teeth. I'm really angry, Gretchen. I don't understand. Why did you do this to me? I'm sorry, Gretchen stammered. She bit down on her lower lip. I don't know what else to say. Marco stepped back from the tree, breathing heavily. He wiped sweat off his forehead with the back of his hand. Then he closed the knife and slid it back into his pocket. Without saying another word, Marco turned his back on Gretchen and walked toward the cabin. Gretchen hurried after him. She didn't know what she was going to say when she caught up, but she could see that she had hurt his feelings. She hadn't meant to be so blunt, but... Marco, she began. He cut her off. Save it, Gretchen. You got your message across, loud and clear." They walked the rest of the way in silence. As they neared the cabin, it started raining again, cold, heavy drops. Gretchen opened the door of the cabin, expecting to hear laughter and voices, but she heard only silence. She stepped into the front room. The fire had burned low. Some of the candles had gone out. The birthday banner draped over the fireplace had fallen. A chill swept down Gretchen's spine. The emptiness of the room spooked her. "Where is everyone?" she wondered. Marco shrugged. "Maybe they went out for a walk, or maybe they went home. Some party." Marco flopped down on the sofa, his arms crossed over his chest. He stared into the low flames of the dying fire. Gretchen listened to the rain beat steadily on the cabin roof. Within seconds, everyone would be rushing inside, ready to party. "I better go get the cake set up," she thought. Gretchen pushed open the kitchen door. She stopped in alarm. What a mess! What had happened in here? The canister of flour on the counter had been tipped over, spilling flour everywhere, on the counter, on the floor. But what were those stains in the flour? Dark red stains. Gretchen's eyes followed the dark trail. "No!" She uttered a sharp cry when she saw Cindy, on the floor, on her back, in the flour, an angry red slash in her side. Blood leaked out over her clothes, forming a dark puddle in the white flour. Cindy, in the flour, white and red, dark, dark red. Cindy, a lifeless, blank stare on her face. Her mouth locked open in a scream of horror and pain.